Recording in progress.
Hello, everyone. I'm here with Dan, who doesn't like horror. And
Horror.
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 Remember, a house of horrors. And Jim is here with us, and
Treehouse.
Rory.
Horror.
And we're going to
Hello.
continue our October theme of suspense and horror. And yeah, it's not Dan's thing. He wasn't
Terror.
here. Terror. Dan wasn't here last time, which is okay. And because we do these videos very off the cuff and on the fly, because we have a very big budget for our production quality and we say about 2 minutes before, what are we talking about? And we talk about what we're going to talk about. Today's version is more suspense and horror, and we're going to let the conversation go organically.
Yeah, I wasn't here last time, so I don't know what you talked about.
You know, it's recorded and on YouTube.
Yeah, I didn't watch
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Just like everyone else, I don't watch our videos.
Pump our numbers up.
We have
By what?
dozen of viewers out there. Dozen of viewers.
But,
We love you guys.
Yeah, we do. We love
it's
you all.
not.
Tell your friends.
It's not that I don't like horror. I think it's more that I don't
You
get
really threw
I
to
said
New York
before,
on that.
in a little
Horror.
meeting point, I said I don't get jump scared really by stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm not a big like gore guy. Like one thing I do really like that's
Al Gore,
like
Gore Vidal.
Al Gore.
Keep us
One-
on
one
track.
thing
We
I
got
do
we got
like
at least
that-
get like 2 minutes.
One thing I like that is I guess considered horror is Alien.
Yeah,
And I think that's
okay.
maybe because
Yeah.
we were talking suspense
Yeah.
versus horror, and the whole sci-fi element of it is kind of a hook for me. But then, like, it's not. It has the gore moments when the chest burster comes out.
But it's not gratuitous.
It is like 40 years ago, so that's
Yeah,
like no
that's
spoilers.
a lot of
right?
saliva
You're
in that movie.
A lot of saliva.
But like, what's amazing about it, like, just to get off topic, but really quick, is how I just saw it like I don't know a month or two ago, and it like really kind of holds up for like being dated and like
Yeah,
because it's like the lighting of it is really well done and like the sets are really awesome, and you don't really and like they barely show the alien, and it's kind of like the Jaws thing where like
Yeah.
Jaws broke, it didn't work, and so like you don't see them often, and that just kind of makes it even more horrific actually, like things that happen off screen and things you don't see, and like that whole idea of horror and like the thing, or even in a comic book, what happens between the
Yeah.
panels. So like we were going to talk a little bit about how hard it is to write horror. I think it's like really hard to write horror in a comic book because I don't know
Yeah.
how you convey that
Yeah.
sort of
yeah.
shock and awe, and how you get that jump scare with a page turn that you can get like on a screen. I don't think you can really do it.
Comics have the bonus that comics have in the written word is it can move at the reader's pace, and they can go back and see things and and linger on. I think, but you're right. You can't build up like that. So
Yeah.
you can try. Page turn is like
Yeah.
That's the best you can
yeah,
do.
because if it's across the page, oh, it's right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can look. It's coming
You
up.
really
How do you
have to
keep,
pace the
how do you
page
keep the
turn
distance
speed.
between the protagonist and the actual terrifying bit? It has to
Moving
have
the
that
page,
tension.
even in a book, sometimes I have stopped myself, like I have covered a paragraph because I don't want my eye to go like in prose to see what happened. I've specifically tried to not see, but you're right. Comic books, except
There
you
was
can
like
have
there was an issue of Hulk. I think it was 272. That was, it was like Hulk versus with Sasquatch, and the Wendigo was in it, and the whole thing was leading up to like him becoming Wendigo, not becoming Wendigo, but like finding out what it was, and like Bruce Banner is like just landed on Earth or something from outer space, and he's like going through this cabin that he finds, and he finds a flashlight, and he like kind of lights it, and it's like they're doing like a whole dark thing, and then he opens a closet, and there's like skeletons in there, and it was cool, but it's like I get what they were going for, and like in a movie it would have been shocking and stuff, but like in a comic it's just kind of like falls flat.
One of the things about horror as opposed to suspense, and I think what makes horror so difficult to write is you're not just trying to get a sense of tension, you're trying to develop a sense of dread.
yeah.
And why that's so difficult and why that's hard to do in any context, but especially in the written word when you don't have music and you don't have it's the person's pacing and you're relying on page turns, is that sense of unsafe, right? Like in a
You gotta be
horror,
uncomfortable.
nobody's safe. Like in the Alien movies, we'll use that as an example. There's that
Yeah.
suspense, but there's also that dread when you're like, it doesn't matter if you're have all of these like things that in any other movie would mean you're safe, nothing's going to happen to you. You don't know
Yeah, how do you
what's gonna
create that
happen to
atmosphere?
that person. That
Um,
there's that dread there. Even in some cases, the protagonists don't survive the horror movie, right? The main character, the person who's on the cover, the front, the $1 million actor doesn't survive at the end, right?
Alfred Hitchcock.
Every Lovecraft
Psycho.
protagonist goes mad or dies at the end.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think someone who's really good at that, and some of his stuff is trash and some of it's really great, is H.P. Lovecraft with
Yeah.
the cosmic horror. And I don't know if
Yeah.
we talked about him last time or not,
Nope.
but like, so I guess I kind of do like some. I like horror that has like a sci-fi sort of aspect to it because I love some of Lovecraft stuff. I think is like really amazing.
Incredible.
Talking about like building that sense of dread and just kind of like
Yeah.
being completely in over your head and like
The Reanimator
completely out of
was
your depth.
fantastic.
Yeah. It's just like that feeling of like you're either going even like the role playing game. I love the Call of Cthulhu. It's just
That's
like the whole
great.
point. There's like sanity points and like you slowly go insane and like the whole point of the
Yeah.
game is the character is eventually either going to die or go completely insane. And it's like that whole idea of like just being so overwhelmed and outclassed by like what you're up against is cool.
And Jim, I mean, you and I play. We are D&D adjacent. We play D&D in the same space. We haven't been at the same table much. But I love Gothic horror, and which is I've been on the Ravenloft campaign.
That's
Curse of
amazing.
Strahd. And that to keep your players coming back, though, you've got to relieve the tension. It can't because Curse of Strahd, you go through room after room after encounter, and they're like, I'm going to search the body. I'm going to search in the fireplace. I'm going to open the closet. I'm going to open the wardrobe. You find nothing. You find nothing. You find nothing. It's rainy and miserable, and you find nothing. and that module just beats the players down. You have to, even in like the opening pages of how to run that module, it tells you you've got to create some levity. You got to relieve the tension every once in a while, or your players are going to be like, I'm so done with this, and they're going to jump off a cliff and then go, play somewhere else where they're killing kobolds,
right?
Finding gold and magical elven armor, where
murder hobos.
But yeah, with Cthulhu, with those, where it's just like, it's the dread, it's you feel like you can't win.
Yeah,
I mean, I like those like The Fugitive. It's everybody against him.
Yeah,
those stories. That's why they're popular. It's where the odds are that just so overwhelming for the hero. And horror adds usually the supernatural element.
I think like that's I like. Oh, I was just gonna. I like those type of stories where, like, you have to outthink your opponents. You can't just like overpower them. Yeah. Sorry, Jim. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I was gonna add to like the difference between something like The Fugitive and horror isn't just the element of like up against the world or up against insurmountable odds. It's a sense of like you don't know, you as the reader doesn't know what's going on, right? Like and not just like in a sense of in a sense of like you don't know the villain's plot, but you don't know.
So it's a sense of uncomfortability all the time.
Exactly, you're uncomfortable.
You just made that word up. But
it's what
I love comfortability.
Yeah, uncomfortability.
It's in the dictionary. It does.
It has to be something out of the ordinary.
It does exist.
It does.
The first time I ever heard it was in Step Brothers.
Comfortability.
It's there.
Comfortability, and I was like, "That's an awesome word."
Comfortability.
You could tell it was like an improv scene, like he's talking to a psychiatrist, and she says comfortability, and he's like, "Oh, it's not comfortability." Like he's very attracted to her.
So okay, well then it's a real word. All right, we're gonna.
I love
Jim,
it.
if you please, or whoever puts our video,
more.
please put hashtag comfortability.
Comfortability.
Sure.
Like if you have think of like a weekend scene, like a couple goes to a cabin on a lake. they have great intentions. It's
Yeah.
going to be a wonderful trip, and all of a sudden there's some guy, like on the property staring at them.
There's always you have to
Like,
you have to add that like. So one of the moments I've been most scared in my life was it's a big old building that I've been in a bunch of times, but I had to go in the evening. I had to go downstairs into the disgusting floor basement to turn off the water. Well, one night I had gone down and all the doors that I had closed were open, and I realized it at the last second, and someone was in the building. Of course, there was no nefarious intent, but someone else had come into the building, and it was that realization that as I had run through around a hallway and around a staircase and up a little narrow another hallway, the doors were open, and I realized it like too late. And he was standing there. I was standing in a dark room, scared. I literally fell over because I stopped, and my buddy was behind me, and he shoved off on me and ran away. And I fell backwards on the floor and realized someone's in here. I think I yelled, "Someone's in here!" I'm surprised I did not wet my pants. But teenager Scott realized too late, like doors were open, and as my brain is processing this, someone's standing right in front of. But yeah, you're right. You add that uncomfortability, and it doesn't take much.
Yeah,
Jim, how much time do we have?
We're running out of time. We got like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 4 minutes left.
Mere minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, putting a clock on it, that's scary too.
What's that?
Putting a clock on something, a countdown.
So thank you. If anybody out there has never seen Alfred Hitchcock's Rope, it's, as far as I know, now I haven't seen all of his movies. I like Hitchcock, but again, I'm kind of I haven't seen them all, and so I'm not.
Birds, right?
He did The Birds. He did Vertigo. He did North by
He was North by Northwest.
How Hitchcock is, like one of the standards for suspense. Rope got Jimmy Stewart. It's so good, so simple. It takes place in like almost one scene for most of the movie, but the camera angles.
Right.
There's a body in the foreground of the movie most of the time, hidden. We know it's there, and there's these two young guys, college age guys, that think they pulled off the perfect crime, and there are scenes like so the movie just builds and builds and builds. There's a scene where they've hidden the rope that they used to commit the murder, and there's a swinging door into the kitchen, and the maid or whatever, one of the servants, is going through the drawers, and as the door swings, she's like getting closer and closer to finding the thing that they used. And then there's another scene where she's like taking things off of this trunk where the body is, or I don't know what you call it. She's taking it and it's building because we as the viewers know it's there, and they can't find out. It's so good. I like Rope is so good. It's so simple. It's one of the. I had to look it up on Amazon. I couldn't find a disc anywhere. I had to buy it from Amazon. Rope. I think it's just called.
Can you find a disc anywhere now, Scott?
Yeah, Rope.
Wonderful.
That was years ago that I bought a disc. Yes, I still buy discs.
Yes,
I
still buy physical media.
I bought it.
What are you going to do when the EMP hits everything and you don't have access to the cloud anymore?
Yeah, I bought it on real.
Your discs are still going to be just as useless when they can't use
you have them in a Faraday cage.
Doomsday prepping. 101.
Okay.
Faraday cage.
I love it. I'll go down this rabbit hole.
I didn't realize my discs were going to get EMP. Darn it!
Well,
it'll fry it'll fry everything. Okay, all right. Everything will be fried, and I'll be watching movies by candlelight.
Fantastic.
Looking at the disc, trying.
Yeah.
Going back really quick.
DVDs.
Going back to the Rope really quickly. One of the things that I feel like you can get some suspense versus horror. Here's an interesting dichotomy. So I don't know the Rope, so I don't know what the context is of when the maid is searching through the drawers, right? So the question is suspense from a suspenseful position. I would say, if it was pure suspense, the robbers are afraid that the maid's going to find the rope, and that's where the suspense is.
Murderers.
But from a horror perspective, the maid, you as the watcher, if you know if the maid finds the rope, the robbers are going to kill the maid. Then it becomes horror, right? Because now there's this sense of dread over death and murder that you're waiting to happen, that you're not sure it's going to happen.
Yeah, I could put this one in. I could be convinced that it's horror because they have murdered somebody, but the setting is not a traditional horror. It is a dinner party. They're hosting a party. These two young men, because of their hubris, they are so confident in their crime that they can invite people to their house to be feet away from the corpse. To be right there, Jimmy Stewart. If you kill someone, you use a rope.
Did he kill them?
Yeah, and then Jimmy Stewart goes on a killing spree. At the end.
Oh,
I would love that.
Little
known fact.
Jimmy Stewart.
Very
this time
smart.
it's personal.
All right, and we've got and with that, we have reached the end of our time. As always, like, subscribe.
AI, subscribe. Yeah. AI Jimmy Stewart, Die Hard, Jimmy Stewart action movie.
Jimmy Stewart action movie.
You're
all
gonna have to put under your guns now, or I'm gonna have to
feel lucky, punk.
Well, and on that note, thank you all for watching.
Good night.
Good night. Stay scared, I think. I don't know. Bye.
Keep it scary. Bye.
Recording stopped.